Official video on Warcraft's YouTube channel about Sod? No way. Sod, what's next? 3 minutes ago. Oh my hype. Okay, what's next on Sod, boys? We've been wondering this, guys. Is this the last phase? Are they deleting it after this? Like, what's going on? Holy crap, this is hype. All right, let's watch it together. 3, 2, 1, go.
Season of Discovery is a project that I feel like every game developer dreams of being able to work on one day. Being able to take their favorite game and add something to it and change it up in interesting ways.
We set out to do something bold and different when we announced Season of Discovery at BlizzCon in 2023, and the journey that we've been on with you has been amazing.
It was late in 2022 where we really started brainstorming as a team on what were we going to do after Season of Mastery. So we came up with some crazy ideas. Was it going to be a survival version of vanilla World of Warcraft? Were we going to add new classes or new specializations? But ultimately, what we saw that people were really most passionate about, they wanted more content in vanilla World of Warcraft. They wanted to have the meta disrupted so that leveling was more interesting and not predetermined by existing guides. So throughout 2023, we continued to work on building our Rune system out where people could find awesome new power-ups and apply them to their gear and play their class in a lot of different ways.
When we embarked on the journey of making Season of Discovery, a big focus with the runes was to make sure that people felt like they were playing a complete class in a vanilla WoW setting. So we've essentially taken a base that has 4 healing specializations and upped it to about 6. We've taken a base that has 1.5 really effective tanks to 6. And we've taken a base that has 12 DPS specializations and increased it to at least 20. And all of them perform very closely to each other, which is one of the major goals, is that you shouldn't feel that bad playing a class that isn't the best one in the game, and there should be at least some option available to you to perform.
We were getting the Black Fathom Deeps ready, and then we heard that we were going to be able to be a part.
That's a complicated conversation that we're talking about with min-maxing different specializations. So the retail model of things is to look at the logs and have all the specs performing within like 1 to 10% of each other, or 1 to 5%, or hopefully even less, like very, very close, so that you can kind of play any spec you want and still be able to enjoy the game without feeling like you have to play the meta specs. Now, the downside of that is that a lot of the times this becomes a class homogenization kind of thing, where it's like every class feels like the other class, because for every class to perform in different types of content, every class needs some type of kick, every class needs mobility, every class needs a lot of AoE, every class needs a lot of single target, every class needs a lot of things to be able to perform at that level if you want to balance things. So balance oftentimes means homogenization. Not all the time, but a lot of the time there's some overlap there. So it is somewhat of a scary conversation for someone that likes Classic. If you want to like overly tune and balance, sometimes it's a scary thing of homogenization, and it's like, well, we definitely don't want that, right? Because a lot of Classic players really enjoy that you have these unique capacities in each different class, and if you start doing that, then it kind of ruins the idea of what Classic is and starts to modernize it past the point that people actually desire. So it's like finding that middle ground, right? And it seems to be kind of a dance, because if you go too far over to the modernity, then it's like, this is just retail and people want to quit. And if you don't really change enough at all, it's like, well, this is just Classic again. And it's like, you have to find that middle ground. And to me, Season of Discovery is actually doing like a pretty decent job, right? Because the gameplay itself still feels somewhat, it doesn't feel like retail to me. The gameplay itself in Season of Discovery actually feels somewhere closer to like Cataclysm, maybe MoP, right? And the amount of abilities, the amount of difficulties and complexity, and the different specs and classes rotations and stuff like that. It actually feels like very similar to Mr. Pandaria or Kata, at least from the mage perspective. And to me, that's a good thing. To me, that like these are some golden eras of the game itself, and it's like, great, like we have this complexity that's not too complex, and we have homogenization creeping a little bit, but it's not completely taking over. So, I mean, that's one of the things that I'm actually really enjoying about Season Discovery, right?
of the announcement at BlizzCon and be up on stage next to Holly and Metzen, where after they announced the World Soul Saga and we get to announce Season of Discovery, which was incredibly humbling and exciting at the same time.
That was exciting, bro.
What we were announcing seemed a little crazy at the time. Mages that can heal, rogues that can tank, the level capped at 25. I'm doing a 10-man raid in Black Fathom Deeps. What exactly is going on? And honestly, the more exciting thing was actually seeing people get into the demo station and all the demo stations being occupied nonstop, and it was a surreal experience. Seeing like, okay, we might have something interesting here. People are pretty excited.
Yeah. And with Season of Discovery, we've been able to bring content that has long been hinted at or unfinished back from the original development of the game to light and to players for the first time, including the Karazhan Crypts dungeon.
It's kind of this storied, legendary part of World of Warcraft.
There was a lot of history with this place. It was an immense weight to try and tackle something of this magnitude.
Yeah, it was scary.
Yeah, it was very scary.
Well, they crushed it, man. They crushed it. I think Karazhan Crypts is one of my favorite dungeon experiences of all times. Like, they think it was scary or a big project. They annihilated it in a good way, in the best way. Kara Crypts owns. I love that place.
For the players actually experiencing the place and going through the darkness, but us actually designing something of this magnitude was very daunting. A lot of the times when we were doing stuff is we're looking at what contemporary things are doing, and which is how WoW was built originally, is looking at what is in the present. And we were like, well, we should try to go back to the past and see how they were doing things and kind of keep those themes rolling forward. And
good thing is when someone says, wouldn't it be cool if we just do it?
So my typical workflow is I focus on the items, creating them, static.
Can we play this again? I absolutely love this guy's answer here.
When we were doing stuff is we're looking at what contemporary things are doing, and which is how WoW was built originally, is looking at what is in the present. And we were like, well, we should try to go back to the past and see how they were doing things and kind of keep those themes rolling forward. And
good thing is when someone says, wouldn't it be cool?
There we go, man. I love that mentality. It's like, instead of trying to rediscover the wheel, instead of trying to reinvent things from the ground up, which, by the way, sometimes can work. Sometimes can work, but the majority of the time, it's a really good strategy to say, look, the game is wildly successful, wildly popular. People love it. What was it about the game exactly that made it so good? Okay, let's use and utilize those themes and leverage them in our current existing game instead of trying to just give people something that nobody asked for. It's like, what a massive W, man. Like, for example, in retail, my overarching conclusion for retail of like, where do you go next in retail, is you look back at the most popular expansions of all time and you model retail after them. And you don't try to do anything new and novel or crazy, which seems to be the path they're taking. So that kind of makes me a little upset. I'm just going to be honest. Instead of trying to do something crazy new, it's like, no, let's look and model the game after the best possible expansions that most people enjoyed based on the actual data. Okay, most people like these things. Let's try to model it after what most people actually liked and enjoyed about the game to the best of our abilities, right? That would be great, in my opinion.
Cool if we just do it.
So my typical workflow is I focus on the items, creating them, statting them, naming them. I've just made items that I wish were in the game when I played it back in 2004. So when making items, I always want to make things that are fun, zany, but I also want to make things that are really viable. So I have a bunch of things like the Whimsical World Warper that takes you to 33 different locations in Azeroth. I have the Gift of Gob that helps people transform into a goblin. You could use it on pets, you could use it on your allies, give people a little more freedom. And then we have other items like Viscera, which is like a badass sword that can knock people back. We have Calibolg that turns you into a big boulder and lets you roll into people. And we also have things like the Cluck Cannon, which I don't know what its purpose is, but it serves some kind of purpose.
It was a whole lot of experimentation. It was a whole lot of let's just throw something at the wall and see what happens. And we just kept iterating. Eventually we found a good working formula for it, and we got some pretty cool things.
Obviously the darkness mechanic is the big thing in the Karazhan Crypts, kind of the big point of difference. That was born of this desire to keep up the discovery, the nature of Season of Discovery. And the Crypts is unique because people had explored the place already. People knew the layout, people knew what was in there. To make it surprising and make it feel like people were discovering stuff, we introduced this light and dark thing. We weren't sure how it was going to be received. I remember reading one comment about someone saying their hearts sunk when they realized they couldn't see their teammates outside of the light radius. So that's the emotional texture that we wanted.
We wanted to really hammer home the fact that it is darkness. Like, you are in a place that is completely void of light.
Originally, the characters would hold a torch in their hand,
tiny torch,
and it was this really small torch, this tiny little light. You couldn't see anything.
I mean, I sound like a broken record of this. I've done videos on it. Crypts, one of my favorite dungeons of all time. They tried this same thing in the new retail expansion with one of the dungeons. Does anyone in the chat know the dungeon in retail they tried this in? Where it was like the candle thing. It's one of the new dungeons in Warwithin. Darkflame Cleft. So they tried this in Darkflame Cleft. I think Darkflame Cleft missed the premise here. I think Karazhan Crypts nailed it. Karazhan Crypts, you actually can't see outside the radius at all. Like, if someone goes into the darkness, they're gone. They disappear. With Darkflame Cleft, you can still see everyone. So it's like you're basically just playing like a dark dungeon. Normally, similarly, it's like, okay, this actually feels like some type of, you're like walking through a horror game when you're playing, and it's like, you don't even see the mobs. The mobs are also invisible. Like on retail in the Darkflame Cleft, you can still see the mobs, you can still see your teammates. It's just dark. It's just dark, right? And you want to stay within the light. I think to do damage or something like that. Whereas in this, it's like you actually can't see the mobs or your teammates. Like, you have to huddle near that light, and it's like this experience. It's like a dungeon crawler. It's fantastic.
Thing that was super annoying. I know we tried to invoke.
I'm sorry, I wasn't reading the chat. People are saying they changed it now to be like Karazhan Crypts. Is that actually true? I've only done it when War Within came out. That was a couple months ago, or I guess it's been longer than that now. If they changed it to how Karazhan Crypts works, that's awesome. Because I think if retail can learn from something like that and bring it in, that's awesome. People are saying it's fully dark now with no candle, and they changed it in retail. There we go. Okay, I wonder if Karazhan Crypts was so well received that the retail team was like, crap, we need to do that too. Or I wonder what the timelines were here. That's fascinating.
A lot of horror tropes, the eyes disappearing in the darkness, all these traps, all these horrible monsters. We tried to make this chandelier fall from the ceiling. I spent maybe 2 days on that and it did not work. We ended up adding a lot of very cute touches to the crypts. I'm not even sure players noticed. We have things like, we have cockroaches that will scatter when the light touches them, for example. I haven't seen any posts about that yet.
That's just for us, you know? When I go in on live and I see it, I'm like, that's right.
That's us.
That's for
us.
me.
Those are our cockroaches. We had the mimics. The chests you open are sometimes mimics and they'll eat you. And I don't know if anyone's discovered this. I'm going to spoil it. If they kill you, they will actually spit you out as a hunk of meat.
Yeah, it's like viscera comes out.
It's actually, it's pretty gross.
Yeah.
Look out for that.
I've seen
next
that,
time you die in
the
the crypts.
mimics.
The original plans for the opera event, we had some very funny ideas to start, like the goblins picking each other up to swing at players.
They would pick each other up and they would become this increasingly long goblin sword.
Goblin sword, yeah.
We will use that, yeah. Yeah, cut this. Someone will pick up someone and use them as a weapon. That's a guarantee. You can quote us on that. I think that philosophy of experimentation is really at the heart of Season of Discovery. And
Coolest boss right there, man.
Classic.
It is definitely at the heart of Scarlet Enclave.
I think.
We are experimenting a lot in that place.
So for Phase 8, a little bit of a peek behind the curtain. The Scarlet Enclave raid, certainly the Ashburn questline that's related to it, the stories and the quests that are associated with it as well. It's actually originally intended to be a lot smaller of an experience, but when we saw the response to the Karazhan Crypts dungeon, the attunement questline associated with that, and some of the continuations of the narratives that we had set up earlier in Season of Discovery, it actually really encouraged us to go even bigger with the Scarlet Enclave raid. What started off as a small 5-boss dungeon suddenly grew to a full 8-boss raid, which we think really delivers on the promise of what players have been looking forward to for this content, really over the course of their entire Season of Discovery journey.
Oh, let's go.
Probably the most difficult thing that I've had to do itemization-wise so far has been creating the Corrupted Ashbringer as a legendary. Legendaries deserve a lot of respect. Players are going to want them to be iconic, and making something like the Ashbringer, which is a weapon of legend, even in real life to some degree, you want that to be evocative of what it feels like to be the Ashbringer when you wield it. I had 3 big things I had in mind when making it, and the first one was I wanted to make sure that it kept the lifesteal proc of the original Corrupted Ashbringer. The second one is I wanted to make sure that that proc was more effective and still good, but also scaled up a little bit, a little more beef to it. And the third thing I wanted to do is I wanted to make the weapon feel like when it procs, it's evocative of the Ashbringer is now on the battlefield. The Ashbringer has emerged and is turning the tides of battle. The Ashbringer, in my mind, is a weapon that overcomes insurmountable odds. The more you're ganged up on, the more powerful the Ashbringer is. The more times it can proc, the more people it will proc on, and the more it will fuel you. And the more it will destroy your enemies too.
One thing we get asked about the end of Season of Discovery is what'll happen to my characters? Well, we don't really consider Season of Discovery to have an end, and we have no plans whatsoever to shut down the servers. We want to make sure that everyone has access to their characters and the achievements they've made for years to come. Our team has some really amazing things planned, and we really can't wait for you to see what else we're working on. Until then, thank you so much for playing Season of Discovery with us.
Guys, no end to SOD. We have a massive 8 encounter raid coming out in 2.5 hours. Holy crap. Dude, am I the only one that just absolutely loves these SOD devs? Like this guy, he's talking about respect, right? Respect for something that players have coveted. The Ashbringer. It's not just, oh, let's just give everyone this, or let's just put this in. It's like, no, it's a level of respect to be creating an item like that. And that's it. Like, it sounds kind of silly or whatever, but like it's important, right? Because once you lose that piece, you get Legion, where you just give everyone a legendary, and it's just like every single person has the same darn item, and you just lose the respect. And it's like that pissed a lot of people off, right? And it's like something like this. It's like, all right, we're gonna have these items, but we're gonna do it the right way, right? We're gonna do it the right way. And I mean, I respect that he respects it, right? I think that's cool. I think that's really cool. I hope this raid is good. I hope it doesn't suck. We're gonna find out in 2 hours. Karazhan Crypts was such a blast. So if they can do anything near Kara Crypts, I think Enclave's gonna be dope. But we'll see. We'll see, man. Hopefully it owns. Yeah, SOD servers aren't going anywhere either, which is cool. Item, Corrupted Ashbringer, Sanctified. This is the item right here. Inflicts the will of the Ashbringer upon the wielder. 3% crit, 2% dodge parry. Steals up to 500 life from up to 5 enemies. It's AoE, granting 30 strength or agility per enemy siphon, stacking up to 5 times. Brother. Bro, if you are like a warrior or a ret in like, say the Blood Moon event, and there's like 5 people around you, and you get a consumption effect, you just go to full HP, and then you get like 150 strength, and then you get a second proc, full HP again, and then another 150 that stacks, and you just keep getting this. You just become this like absolute beast. That is sick. Holy crap. I just wish they made the armor sets look cooler. I agree with that. I agree with that. That's what I do have some complaints, and that is one of them. I wish the armor sets were like custom or cooler. It probably came down to like interest and budget, if I had to guess. Like they were not approved to like get the art team to make brand new assets, but instead they were approved to reuse assets that were already existing or something like that. That's my guess. I mean, I don't know. So they probably were like, crap, what assets should we use that already exist in the game if we can't get the funding to get new ones? And then they probably were like, well, let's do players, some of players' favorite sets in the game and do tier 4 and tier 5. So like, I think that's probably what happened, right? Which sucks. Like as a player, it sucks because it's like, I think brand new tier 3.5 would have been what most people wanted. Can we see them? Sure. Tier 4 classic. It's this stuff. This is Warrior, which is actually one of my favorite ones, or this might be Pally. So Cloth, I think the Cloth has 3 sets. I think this is Mage, I think this is Priest, and this is Warlock. So it's just 3 recolors of like tier 5. Is that tier 5? I think it's tier 5. And then Leather is a recolor of the PvP set, which is weird to me. This one is actually my favorite one of the 3. I think White, I don't know, this one is Gold, and this is Hunter. So this is Hunter. I think this is Druid, and this is Rogue, or maybe I missed those 2. And then Plate are my favorite ones. I think this is Pally and this is Warrior, or the other way around. Yeah, I think this is Warrior and this is Pally. And the Plate ones are actually my favorite. I think these are pretty cool. But yeah, overall, I think the Plate is cool. I think the Mail kind of sucks, and the Leather is kind of not great either. And I think the Cloth, like, it's a cool set, but I would have rather seen something new. I think my favorite one is the Priest one, but yeah, that's pretty much how I feel.